Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, July 30th regular City Council meeting. With that, Mike, would you please call roll?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Benjamin.
Present.
Councilmember DeLira.
Here.
Councilmember Fajarand.
Here.
Councilmember Gaither.
Here.
Councilmember Guido.
Here.
Councilmember Parks.
Here.
Councilmember Weller.
Present.
Councilmember Wright.
Here.
For community announcements, first of all, we're expecting temperatures over 100 degrees again on Friday. This is a reminder that the Neal Public Library during normal business hours is available during the hottest part of the day to use as a cooling center. Also, this week, members of Pullman Police, WSU Police, and Pullman Fire are participating in a 4-day active attack integrated response training in and around Waller Hall on WSU campus. So you should expect extra police and fire department response on campus through Thursday. There also may be some loud noises during the practice exercise. Next Tuesday, we don't have City Council meeting, but there is National Night Out. That is from 6 to 8. Come join the Pullman Police Department at Rainey Park for the family-friendly event featuring free fun, games, and treats. My understanding is there will also be a dunk tank there, and I'll also be participating, so it's an opportunity for you to come out and dunk a police officer or even dunk the mayor if you like. So that's your opportunity, and it's supposed to be in the low 90s, so the weather should be good for us. Coming up, Constitution Park, classic rock, pop, and blues band Solstice will be playing at Rainey Park tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the summer concert in the Summer Concert in the Park series. This is also the last week for Movies in the Park at Rainey Park. This Friday, they'll be screening Wonka. The film starts at dusk. The Pullman Parks and Rec's Fall Youth Sports registration is open now, so you can visit Parks and Rec's calendar on the City of Pullman's website to register. And then at the library, the Dementia and Memory Loss Care Specialist from the Aging and Long-Term Care of Eastern Washington will be leading a workshop on effective communication strategies at Neal Public Library on Tuesday, August 6th from 5:30 to 6:45, and all are available to attend. With that, our next item is community comments. This item is an opportunity for community to bring comments, concerns, or other non-agenda related items to the attention of elected officials. If anyone would like to, please come to the podium, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Dear council members, my name is Ali, and I am a working professional at a local company. As you are aware that months of fighting in Gaza hasn't helped in achieving even one of the stated objectives of the military operation. This makes me question the viability of supporting an endless military campaign from American taxpayer money, which only brings continued suffering on part of the families of the held hostages and causes a tragic loss of life to an otherwise uninvolved civilian population. The motion presented to you does not ask you to pick sides, neither does it ask you to arbitrate between winners and losers. All it asks you to do, honorable council members, is to uphold the American values of justice, equality, proportionate rules of engagement, and rules-based international order by advancing a call to a ceasefire. In my opinion, if the council members demonstrate the moral high ground to move forward this motion, this will unite us around shared American values and not be a source of division in the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to provide comments at this time?
Hi, my name is Megan Henry. I am a Pullman local, and I've spoken here a few times about this issue. I stand here just as a reminder that the people of Pullman do care about what's going on in Palestine, and that we hope that you will take the time to really consider a ceasefire proposal and make it work for how Pullman is as a community and as a city, but to stand for the basic expectations for what it is to call for a ceasefire and to call for attention to what's going on, to say that we care about humanity and what's going on outside of our little tiny town, because it does affect us. and it does affect the people here. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to provide comments?
Hello, my name is Matthew Strupp. I'm a member of the Palouse Democratic Socialists of America and an activist with Pullman for Palestine. I'm here to urge the Council once again to put serious effort into passing a resolution calling for a ceasefire and an end to occupation and apartheid in Palestine, whether that be one submitted to them by the community or one that they draft themselves. I'm now going to read a highly prophetic statement that was run as an advertisement in the Israeli newspaper Haaretz by the anti-Zionist Israeli Socialist Organization, also known by the title of its magazine Matzpen, in the immediate aftermath of the 1967 war. Matzpen wrote, "Our right to defend ourselves from extermination does not give us the right to oppress others. Occupation entails foreign rule. Foreign rule entails resistance. Resistance entails repression. Repression entails terror and counter-terror. The victims of terror are mostly innocent people. Holding on to the occupied territories will turn us into a nation of murderers and murder victims. Let us get out of the occupied territories immediately." All of the predictions of these originally 52 Hebrew words have since come true 1,000 times and could have been averted through an end to the occupation and the institution of equal rights for all people, Jews and Arabs, and a right of return for displaced people between the River Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea. It's still possible to achieve this with the solidarity of the people of the world with the oppressed Palestinian people. Expressing this solidarity through a ceasefire resolution is well within the scope of a municipal government council when it expresses the deep desire of its community members to end their own complicity in oppression and genocide. So we're urging you to pass a ceasefire resolution as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to provide comments? Seeing none, we'll close public community comments. With that, we're on to city council member comments, and I'll start down with Councilmember Gaither.
No comment.
Councilmember Delira.
No comment.
Councilmember Weller.
No comment.
Councilmember Guido.
I do have a comment, an announcement for the community to let everyone know that the Pullman Housing Work Group is sponsoring what we're calling a Whitman County Home Ownership Resource Fair on Saturday, September 14th, at the Gladish Center in the View Room, and it will be an afternoon 1 to 4 p.m. Of course, it's free and open to anyone, particularly those who are interested in becoming a homeowner, staying in your home, or learning about becoming a homeowner. We do have registration is open, and it's not required that you register. It's just helpful if you do, so that we have a sense of how many people are going to be attending. But the resources are locally and regionally and state level, everything that you'd want to know about becoming a homeowner and how to do it and financing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright.
No comment.
Councilmember Parks.
No comment.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
No comment.
And I don't have any at this time. So next, we're on to City Council future agenda requests. Is there any council member that has a future agenda request item? Seeing none, move on to community comments on final action items of the agenda. Persons may provide comment on any agenda items that the City Council will take final action item on. Is there anyone that would like to provide a comment on any final action items? Seeing none, we then will move on to our consent agenda. At this time, the consent agenda's items are listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion of the City Council without separate discussion. I'd entertain a motion to read the consent agenda by title only.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, Thad, good.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks number 2011-2000 through 2011-2086, totaling $1,166,214.18. Item 2 is a motion to approve the transfer of sales tax revenue to CIP Reserve Fund for 2024 Q2 in the amount of $307,941. Item 3 is resolution number R-49-24, a resolution authorizing the execution of a Fifth Amendment to an agreement relating to proportion of capital and operating costs of the Pullman wastewater treatment plant between the City of Pullman and Washington State University, extending the term through June 30, 2025.
Are there any council members that I have any items removed from the consent agenda to be discussed separately? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
For that, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, we're on to the regular agenda. And Sean Wells will be first up with this, resolution creating a fee for hauling of biosolids to utility consumers and other matters related thereunto.
Good evening, everyone. I'm back with biosolids. This will be a three-part presentation tonight by both our Finance Director, Jeff, and City Administrator, Mike. The background is why I'm here, and how did we get to this place? Well, the Washington State Department of Ecology issues a statewide general permit for how every agency handles biosolids throughout the state. And that sets out the basic framework for how every agency has to follow with how we handle it, whether we compost it, whether we spread it on a farmer's field, whatever that is. Pullman then applies for coverage under that general permit, and that's where the state then gives specific guidance to Pullman based on our specific situation. We are here, we have this much biosolids, we apply for it on this farmer's fields and such. So the previous permit was good from August of 2015 through September of 2020. And then the Department of Ecology then went to reissue the statewide permit. During that time, they did some environmental review, and they issued that permit in June of 2022. It became effective in July of 2022 as well. During that time frame, the previous farmer that we had an agreement with to spread our biosolids on informed us that they no longer wanted to receive our biosolid material. And if you remember last year, we ran into the same situation where we had nowhere to land apply. We were in the process then of getting new farmer, and we went through a public process to say, hey, new farmers, you want our stuff here for fertilizer and material. We found another farmer that wanted to accept it. So we packaged that up and we applied to Ecology for our new permit, which we were in the middle of our permit cycle as well. During that time, we submitted it in, I think it was June or July of last year. Ecology was looking at it, and as of September, they had not yet started our review. So that's why last year, we had to go through a similar process where we had to start hauling off to composters in Airway Heights and down in Lewiston at Clearwater. During the middle of that, the previous farmer said, hey, I'll take your material again. Last year I want to do this. I really don't want it, but I'll take it. So we were fortunate enough last year to be able to take it back to the previous farmer's farms and spread it there. But he said, that's it. That's the last time I want to do this. So we were still waiting for the state to approve the new locations into the new permit coverage. Fast forward to middle of last year, there was an appeal, well, actually in 2022, when the state issued their overall general permit. There was an appeal that was done on the environmental review by the Delta Association, the Nisqually Delta Association, and their president, Ed Keeney. And they were challenging the state's environmental review on the forever chemicals, microplastics, PFAS, and PDBEs. The Pollution Control Hearings Board heard that and then issued a decision that ruled in favor of the appellants and against the state, which basically voided the state's environmental review on their new permit. The state then chose not to appeal that decision, and they were going to go forward and do formal environmental review to include what the Pollution Control Hearings Board wanted them to include. So what that meant for Pullman was we were kind of in this middle ground. We can't go forward with our new land because the environmental review from the state hasn't been done under their general permit. We can't go back to the previous farmer because he doesn't want the material. So we're in this middle ground now of what do we do with it? And we've been working with the state to try to figure out where that was going to go. We realized there was no path forward for them at this time. They're working on something, but we have no estimated time on when that's going to go forward. The contingency plans that we have built into our permit coverage say we can haul it to approved composters in Airway Heights and down in Lewiston, just like it was last year. That's still our contingency plan until they issue us a new permit. So that's where we're at right now. What we have forward today is that cost of that contingency is approximately $300,000. That's the cost of them taking the material and the cost of us trucking it to them, or paying to have it trucked to them. Plus a little contingency there for staff time, facilities we had to actually construct to build a ramp to load it into trucks and things like that on the site. So that's where we're at right now with this, is that this additional expense to the sewer fund is going to be approximately $300,000. And we forecasted that we're probably in this for a good 2 to 3 years of time. And so with that, I engaged the finance department, and that's where Jeff's going to talk about how we came up with the plan to handle this unfunded mandate, if you will, of how we handle our biosolids.
So what you'll see up on the screen is basically funding to recover the expense. As Sean mentioned, it's about $300,000 a year. WSU currently, based off of their consumption, pays about 36% of our sewers. So WSU would be on the hook for a little over $100,000. That leaves about $200,000 that we would need to try to recover in some way. So what we did is we took a look at the number of sewer accounts that we have, and you can see based off of the type there, we kind of developed a monthly fee primarily, and a fee method that's very similar to what we have now for our sewer customers. So duplex and single-family residents, they pay just a flat fee every month. The multifamily and commercial, they pay a flat fee plus a rate based off of their water consumption. So what we did is we established the rate. So you can see the small commercial and single family would be $2.97 a month, so a little less than $36 a year that they would see an increase. The duplex, multifamily, and large commercial would receive $4.46. Again, that's fairly consistent with how we did our overall. And then the larger family and that would also receive a cost for depending on usage. That water usage is a 1.4% increase for those, so not as significant. The monthly fee varies depending on who you are, what percentage it is. If you do the math and add this up, this actually generates in a year probably closer to $230,000 to $240,000. And the reason it is that's higher than the $200,000 that we need is we're trying to kind of recover a full year. So we're going to incur this $300,000 expenses in the next 2 or 3 months here. Obviously, we're not going to back bill people back to January 1st to recover this year. So what it is we built a 3-year plan knowing that this could take up to 3 years to develop a resolution, but we're going to recover those expenses in about 30 months. So that's why if you add up and say, well, hey, this comes up to more in a year than $200,000, that's why we actually would only do it for 30 months, not 3 full years. Does that make sense to people? So if for some reason the state comes back, issue a permit, we can go back to the old, this fee can be dropped as soon as the costs are recovered for that year. So if we're sitting here next June, find out we have a permit, we're not going to have to do this. Once we've recovered this year's costs, we can drop that fee. So what it really does is it avoids trying to do a large fee to recover the full cost this year, but we will always be trailing. Our revenue to cover the cost will always be a little bit trailing, so that's just something to keep in mind. Just to kind of put it in a little bit of perspective, the Department of Ecology does occasional residential sewer rate studies. Their last one is 2016, so unfortunately it's a little old data. They're actually in the middle of doing an update right now. So I have the 2016 data. There was 295 communities that participated in that rate study from the state of Washington. With this increase, we would still be in the bottom third as far as standard residential sewer rates in the state. So out of the 295, I think we would have we'd be 91st. So I think it's 31st percentile, 32nd percentile right in there. And we would still be over $14 less than the average city in the state of Washington. So increase is always unfortunate, but it does put a little bit of perspective of where we rank for the rest of the city, and certainly not out of line with that.
Hi, thank you, Council. So the good news is there is a contingency plan in place, and we're ready to proceed with it. The concern is how do we fund this? Right now, with our reserves and the way the cash flows, we can afford in our funds to be able to pay these upfront costs, because we have to start hauling in the next several weeks. And most of that hauling needs to be done by the winter because of capacity at the facilities, as well as the fact that when our materials are on the road between here and there, if something happens, they're still our responsibility. So putting these types of vehicles on icy roads is, from a risk management standpoint, not good, even if the facilities could handle those types of materials at that time, and their schedules aren't set up that way. So developing the dollars as to what this possibly could cost, we should actually know early in the first quarter of next year what the actual costs were, and we can make some adjustments on that. We're doing it based on, what we think the weights are and how many loads it's going to take. And what's different this year about hauling versus in previous years is we hauled a lot later in September. So there was more time for those solids that do have some liquid in it for the liquid to drain out a little bit. So we pay on the tonnage. And so our tonnage is probably going to be a little bit higher. So we got to wait for all those tonnage reports to come in and those final bills. So with that, staff exhausted all possibilities for a different outcome before bringing this to you. And it's just, we've gotten to that point critical where it looks like ecology is still going through their piece. We're still working through the permit that we have filed, but we need to start hauling now. So with that, that's resolution R50-24 is presented for your consideration. And Sean, Jeff, and I would be happy to answer any questions for you.
Mike, can you speak to the monthly fee, the CCF, and it's based on during the winter time, not during the summer irrigation time?
Sure. Thank you, and thanks for bringing that back up. When we calculated these fees, the first thing we went to is we took the summer out, because certainly folks use water to irrigate and do a lot more of those things. So we went back to a winter averaging to develop these fees, and basically we're going to be starting to charge at the, as irrigation season has fairly much come to an end. When you look at the way that the fee structure is set up, as Jeff mentioned before, this is very similar to the way the sewer fees are set up right now, that only the CCF fees are charged onto those particular customers, because you get a multifamily unit, say an apartment with 35, some of them have one water meter coming in, and so it's hard to send them out to each individual apartment and say you use this much and you use that much, because traditionally cities, I don't think I can think of any cities that measure outflow for sewer. It's not like cities are doing something different than we are. This is a standard way kind of across certainly the state. We'd have to do some exploring in other places to see how they measure their outflow.
So with that, any questions? Councilmember Guido and then Weller.
I have a question about WSU with their 36.4%. What have the conversations been there? Are they prepared to
Yeah,
handle
Mayor
that?
Benjamin has been in touch with the chancellor and made them aware of this. And we bill them twice a year. So there's time to accommodate that, and they understand that that's part of the contract. And it just so happens that this week we are deploying getting back into the rate flow study that was paused when COVID came out with WSU to assure that 36.4 is still the right percentage. And that's going to take a while to get through, but we were going to go start doing those exit meters in the right place over the next week to 3 weeks, so we can start measuring as the students come back.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jeff, what's our closest comparable?
As far as a fee goes,
Yeah.
They're kind of all over the place, so the low is $20.73 a month. We would be at $42.84. The high is $156.93. Albion's $34.75, so they're lower. We're kind of all over the place. Clarkston is right at just under $40, so very comparable to them. Sorry, I'm just trying to glance through here. Walla Walla, I know it's pretty comparable. They're at $52, so they're actually almost 10% high, or almost 25% higher, excuse me. Let's see, I'm trying to think. So yeah, we're kind of all over the place, but we're pretty comparable. A lot of the ones that are small, less than us, are smaller communities, so that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to get some information. I know you had said the lower, third, so just hearing that, I appreciate you having that information available.
And again, these are 2016 rates too, so it's quite possible that some of these communities have raised their rates since then.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, those are 8 years ago rates,
Yeah.
and yeah, and if you look at the comparable communities, as in our comparable communities, we're well below all the comparables that we would normally compare with.
so yeah, to add to that thought, when Jeff and I were reviewing these and he had that bottom third, and we're just kind of going through some of those cities, Moses Lake was there, Wenatchee was there, Walla Walla was there, I believe Ellensburg was there. So the ones we usually use when we talk about collective bargaining were in that group with us, within 10%, but again, those were 2016 rates.
Councilmember Delera?
Yeah, so I guess my biggest concern is we don't have like a definite timeline from the DOE, so that concerns me. Could it be the case that we might find ourselves in this situation again in 2025?
Oh, yeah, as Public Works Director mentioned, that I believe that there's a better than 50-50 chance we're going to be dealing with this for 2 years. Getting out into that third year is very speculative, because getting the state SEPA piece to be done. So as we're collecting these in arrears, so it's not just, okay, well, we got our permit, now we can go start land application again. There's still the payback piece that would have to happen for the money that we're cash flowing up front on behalf of the utility.
I'm not seeing any other discussions. With that, I'd entertain a motion. Oh,
I guess another question I have, and this might be on the spot, so feel free to say that we don't have information on this. But if we may find ourselves in this situation again in 2025, is there something that we can do now in anticipation of maybe mitigating another fee increase in a year?
Yeah, I would go ahead and recommend you approve Resolution 50-24 as presented, and let us start collecting on the fee for the hauling we're about to do. And then during the first quarter, we can sit down and see what the total billing was and see if we are collecting enough or too much, and adjust that and continue to work with the Department of Ecology going forward to get to back to the land application, which is the more cost-effective way to do it. And the farmer who is on the proposed set of land is very interested in continuing to move this forward. It's just a statewide stop at this point, but if we can get our application approved with the Department of Ecology, moving forward as quick as we can is going to be the best thing. I don't reasonably expect that the flow study will be done, completed in a year. Okay, so there is the possibility that the flow study is completed in a year, and at that point, we would want to redo the WSU contract for whatever the correct flow amount is. So if that amount goes up, there's some relief there, but if that amount goes down, that's a different story altogether. So waiting for that flow study to be done and working with WSU on that new contract, because you just approved the 5th extension with them today. So yeah, this has been going on just a little longer than we would like, but doing a study on a lower student population, especially when COVID was going on, wasn't fair to us as an operator.
Any other? Councilmember Fajarin?
I'll just ask the question, I'll regret it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lewiston is a lot closer than Airway Heights, and I'm unfamiliar with the biosolids facilities in both locations. Is there a way that we could prioritize that it be transferred to Lewiston, or would that save money on costs or at all? I'm just asking the question.
Yes and no, and Sean would like to answer that.
Great question. Both facilities, in and of themselves, cannot take all of it. They can only take some at Airway Heights. They can only take some at Clearwater in Lewiston. And so we have to balance how much they can take total, as well as how much they can take any given week. So the one in Lewiston is a smaller facility and can't take as many loads per week as the one in Airway Heights can. Airway Heights trucks are have more capacity than the ones that we have to contract with to get down to Lewiston. So there's a fine balance of how much we can send to one and how much we can send to the other. We have to send to both in order to get it all totally removed. No one facility can take it all.
Thank you, Sean.
You bet.
Any other discussion? If not, then I'd entertain a motion for Resolution R50-24.
Move to adopt Resolution R-50-24. Second.
With that, if you could read the resolution, please.
Resolution R-50-24, a resolution creating a fee for hauling biosolids to utility customers and a resolution creating a fee for hauling of biosolids to utility consumers and other matters related thereto.
With that, any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you, council. Staff will be back to you as soon as we can in the first quarter with an update as to what the reality of the actual fees were and any thoughts we have going forward on the continuing costs.
Thank you. And I know last year we involved our legislators and up through the director level, and this is where we're at. So it's okay. Our discussion item is continuing the work group discussions, where this week we have the welcoming and bypass. I first want to start with, are there any questions any council members have related to work groups? We had our first work group discussion last time, and I just want to, in case there's any queries or questions, be able to talk about them. If not, then we're into, so this is welcoming and bypass, and with the welcoming as the goal that the council set. This is, and this within the welcoming, we have Tremaine Gaither, Carly DeLira, and myself on that, is to promote the understanding and appreciation of community connections and cultural diversity through neighborhood gatherings, block and hill parties, educational forums, cultural events, and community engagement, especially for the historically marginalized. Is there any questions that the members have, or with the council, just as we're giving direction for the members on this? Councilmember DeLira?
Yeah, I guess that goes back to the original question about general work group questions, I guess. I know when the housing group is meeting, but when will we hear back on the other meeting dates?
So, and I'll turn that to Mike. Mike, and that's something just to remind people to make sure you turn in your
Yes, thank
the
you.
doodle polls.
That is a great chance for a reminder. Chantel sent out some doodle polls to each of the different groups for coming up with an organizational first meeting where the group can get together, talk about when makes best sense for them to meet, and kind of do a bunch of the groundwork to start setting up future meetings. I believe we're asking for those to be done tomorrow, and a lot of you already have, so thank you. So as soon as we can start putting those together based on the information you've provided back to us, we'll get those scheduled with you.
Yeah, so please get those turned in. So it sounds like there are no questions related to welcoming. The next one is on the bypass, and that's select and advance the downtown freight and transportation bypass, and have Nathan Weller, Pat Wright, and Ann Parks that's on that one. One of the things that I have asked staff is with the bypass and also with the one that's coming up next week is for staff to be able to provide an update of where things are at related to that. And so I figure your first meetings are going to be really that informative of, okay, how did we get here when we're talking bypass or when we're talking the in-town rail? Where are things at, the status of things, in order to get everybody up to speed and at the same level. Any questions just around the bypass piece? Councilmember Delera?
So since I'm a part of the RTPO, I can see that there is potential overlap in terms of information I learned in that group that could be useful to the bypass work group. And I know we talked about this, Francis, about how communication would look like. So I guess just the confirmation, communication would be through public meetings if I wanted to relay information.
Correct. Because since 3 are on the bypass, for you to have conversation with them would then create a public meeting, an illegal public meeting. So and that's the reason why we'd having the periodic updates of the work groups, so there's an opportunity if there's additional information that a council member has that wants to pass on, or if you want to provide an update to me, I can pass on to them in the way so that we're following the state rules and laws.
Mayor, since you're an elected official as well,
then it'd have to go
city
through.
attorney and I are probably going to recommend that maybe those items come through myself or.
Then go through Mike then. Yeah. Right, because I could potentially be a vote on a situation. Not that I ever want to have to be the tie-breaker. So with that, any other questions just related to these two? And I wanted to provide opportunity just so that we have time to think about them, since we've had the goal setting as we're starting to get these set up. If not, sounds like everybody's happy. With that, we don't have any new business before us, and I'll just, in related to there was a question last week with a public comment related to whether an item needed to come before us. It doesn't have to come before the council. So related to Aspen Heights. So I'm just communicating, so council, you're not wondering what happened with that. It's not something that has to come through the council. With that, we don't have anything else on the agenda, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are adjourned.